Thanks to ButcherBox.com for supporting PC Perspective. Receive free bacon and $20 off your first box when you go to ButcherBox.com/PCPer and use the offer code PCPer. Hey everybody, welcome to the PC Perspective Podcast. This is episode 495, being recorded on April the 11th, 2018. I'm Ryan Shrout.
I'm Jeremy Hellstrom.
I'm Josh Walrath.
And I'm Alan Malventano.
Josh thinks he's very funny because we're having internet connectivity with him. Not with us, with him. It's always you. It's never me.
Never.
No. So we'll just wait for Josh to inevitably cut out during the one time he's talking during the podcast, and then we'll skip that story and we'll move on with our life. So welcome, everyone. It's almost tax day. I hope everybody has that figured out by now. I don't. Actually, I just realized that.
I do. I just don't have the money to pay it yet.
Well, I understand that too. I was kind of hoping my accountant would have emailed me today. Oh, well.
I'm already done and pretty sure my check got stolen out of the mailbox.
He's keeping you in suspense.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Great. Great.
Wait for the surprise, Ryan. I bet you can't wait.
Jeremy, I know that it takes a long time to get mail to you, so maybe that's just what's happening for you. I don't know.
Canadian packets, it applies to.
No, the envelope was left in there. Government of Canada ripped all open. So.
Oh, okay.
Someone got my tax return to the upstairs neighbors, I'm thinking.
Can they cash that check, or do they send cash through the Canadian?
No.
Because everybody's
they're not going to be able to unless they know a guy that doesn't mind getting arrested.
Yeah, all right. Everybody's got to know somebody like
Canada jail, that's like what, an American resort?
Yeah, it's like a 3-star hotel, right? So
yeah, you'd never survive though. There's no heat.
Oh God.
Canadian, right?
We record this show.
Okay, Vancouver is not cold.
No,
they had a Winter Olympics.
That's the exception.
Yeah, did you see pictures from there?
Yeah.
How far away from Vancouver did they have to get for the mountains to have snow, Jeremy?
They drove it over from Alberta in giant trucks.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'm not kidding.
They imported the snow? Very nice.
Yeah, we had to.
Well, we do record the show on Wednesday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific at pcper.com/live. You can be there, watch our live stream, see the pre-show, post-show. We've got a chat room for you to hang out with and make fun of us and stuff as we go. Offer beer suggestions, whatever you want to do. If you need a little reminder about the live stream and when we're doing it, so you can remember to bump yourself on over to that website, you can go to pcper.com/subscribe, and you'll get this page here, which asks for your name and your email address. And we'll send you an email as we're getting ready to do the live stream. So you'll have a little inbox notification, if you will. Push notifications if you are so set up on your smartphones. But no PCPer app. Sorry, you guys just have to survive.
And not only that,
yeah.
When you get an email like this, you feel important, unlike other spam.
Right, which this is not
It's
spam.
like us saying hello to you personally.
It is very much like that.
Greetings.
It is very much oh crap, it's 10 after 9. I forgot to send out this email. What are we going to talk about today?
So if you're lonely and you want to be, told about things, you know who to talk to.
It's not me, as it turns out. We also have our Patreon campaign running. That's at patreon.com/PCPer. That is this page here. It allows you to be a monthly recurring contributor to the website, to us and the team here. It could be $1 a month, $2, $5, $10, $20, $100, whatever you want it to be, depending on what you value out of PC Perspective and these guys. So I hope it's not a negative thing. I don't think they let you put in a negative number on here. But, you get it. Picture Josh in a bathtub still.
God, no.
I will never take this picture down. Never. And as always the case, if you become a new patron and or increase your patronage during the podcast recording, I will give you a shout out on the podcast that we're recording right now. And that Patreon allows us to do new and interesting things we haven't done in the past, such as the mailbag, which Josh covered the mailbag for us this week. So
I did.
If Josh happens to gets cut out of the podcast and you need your weekly Josh fill, you can go back to last week's episode of the mailbag, and you can see him talk to you, I guess, there and answer some questions, such as, let's see, what are some of the questions? Battery charging strategy, endurance for video editing, monitor with both G-Sync and FreeSync, all that type of stuff, and more available in the weekly mailbag. So thank you guys for your support, for allowing us to do that. And also, of course, we have our merchandise store. That is at bit.ly/PCPer merch, which takes you to this Teespring page where you can order yourself a Death Wish Raid t-shirt or a hot dog down a hallway t-shirt, maybe most appropriate for today. Super Pipe, the PC Perspective Classic, otherwise known as the logo on your chest t-shirt, PCPer mug, and Sweet Sweet Lemonade are all available options. I think we should maybe look at trying to get some new designs. If we solicit for some other designs, I think we've been sent a couple before that I just need to like follow up on. I'm trying to remember even what they were.
Problem is we're just not funny anymore.
No.
I mean, it's true. Yeah. It's true. They don't have to be funny. They could just be cool looking. Yeah.
Also, we don't necessarily qualify anymore.
We're too old. All of us are too old.
Young at heart.
I think even Ken is too old now to be considered cool. So, but that again is at bit.ly/PCPer merch, and any purchase you do there supports us as well.
You know, I'm surprised the estate of that actor in that movie that I'm featured in, from Sebastian, has not sued us so far for the image.
Well, I think maybe they're just too busy laughing.
Well, we hope so.
We do. Before we get into stuff, we got a fantastic new pledge from Chasp Zero. Chasp Zero pledged $50 to the Patreon just now. Thank you. That is awesome. Chasp Zero. And I believe in his avatar, he's wearing a Cops t-shirt. So I think that makes it actually better. Thank you, sir. As we get into the week, I will say the reviews this week, we're going to run through pretty quick. Not a whole lot of meat here. Nothing spectacular was launched. The real meat of the show, if you will, is both in the ad and in the news that will follow it shortly thereafter. So let's dive into the reviews. When I said it the first time, I want you to know that I did not do it on purpose, but after I realized what had happened, I felt like I should dive into it a second time.
I'm just more disappointed in Josh.
That's true. Maybe
everybody's been disappointed with me in my entire life. Since I graduated high school, when I had all of this potential, look what I have achieved.
Look at what you did with it.
When you say this, what exactly are you referring to?
Potential? What?
Yeah, this potential.
Yeah,
we had all of this potential.
I had all of this potential where, you know, I was like State of Wyoming Citizen of the Year in 1990. I was Snow King. 1989.
Sounds like some sort of
things?
like, wait, is there
like
these terrorist organization?
These are actual real things, you know, National Honor Society,
we have
scholarship,
pictures,
stuff like that. And look what I've become. So kids, don't be like me.
Don't overachieve in high school because it gets you nowhere.
Something.
Don't overachieve in high school in Wyoming, at the very least.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's talk about the Enermax Platimax, which I think is a great name because it sounds a little bit like platypus. The Platimax DF850 power supply. Lee posted this review up last week. This is the smallest 80 plus platinum power supply, which is impressive when you look at it. It is awfully small. 850 watt continuous, 80 plus platinum, 6 PCIe 6+2 pin connectors. So in theory, you could support up to 3 graphics cards, 3 dual connector graphics cards with this. Fully modular, dedicated quad 12 volt rail. So none of the combined rail goodness here. This is an expensive power supply though, $249, but it does come with a 10-year warranty as well, which is pretty substantial. Okay, here's a little breakdown. I like that diagram actually. Breakdown of where the rails are coming from. So you can see 2 of the rails are dedicated to your motherboard processor combination, and then you've got broken up between power supply, graphics card, and then graphics card plus your SATA Molex. Do they still ship floppy? Yep, never mind.
Oh yeah,
they do in fact still ship
4-pin FDD, baby.
I guess other things do use those. The floppies, sound cards,
like sound cards, yeah,
ancient sound cards.
I kind of like the braiding on these cables as well. And is that
they're all individually braided?
Are they really?
For her pleasure.
That's pretty impressive. And then it also comes with a retention clip for the power cord. interestingly enough. So
how many times has anyone kicked their power cord out of a PSU?
I haven't done it on my own systems.
Do you
but here
have
I've done
children?
it.
Ooh, good point.
Yeah, but aren't power supplies usually like at the back of the system against the wall?
Wait,
That's going to stop a kid.
I do not.
I do.
Yeah, one
learn.
that acts nice.
That's fair. All right. So you can see the fan breakdown here. Obviously, we've got to look at the inside so Ken can be excited.
Oh yeah.
Ken, are you excited? Look at the size of that cabling. What gauge is that? Seriously, that's thick with two C's.
I thought it was two Q's. Is that not how the kids spell it? I don't know.
No, I think it's two C's thick.
Fair enough.
How about that soldering, huh? Looks pretty sharp.
What's all that white stuff all over the place?
You don't want to know.
Ken was in that.
Keeps it from vibrating. Guys.
It's not mineral oil.
It hardens quickly.
I
Guys,
see. That's what they
guys
call
are
it these
silly.
days, huh?
You guys are
from vibrating.
silly. Hey, whatever
Vibrating stops.
whatever performance
Vibrating
enhancers you
stops
need.
when there's white stuff on it.
The only weaknesses here: individually sleeve wires may not appeal to everyone. Although I think more than most would appreciate that capability in there. 10-year warranty is awesome on this. Lots of multi-GPU support. We talked about 80+ platinum, but it is a high price. I would also kind of put that in one of the weaknesses for it if I were listing that. It's still got a gold award from Lee. So if you're in the market for 800 to 850 to 900 watt power supply,
If for some reason you need a really small power supply that isn't SFX, so won't fit in smaller chassis that chassis designed for ATX power supplies would fit a bigger power supply. So
What was the warranty on this?
10 years.
10 year?
10 years.
10 years. 10 years indeed. We're going to talk about the Corsair keyboard here, but we have a new pledge from Paul Kurtz. Pledged $5.
$5.
$5. Thank you, Paul.
Do you know what I can get for $5?
Another hamburger.
No, that's I need $11.48. But if I went to Taco Bell, I could get one of their $5 boxes.
Mm-hmm. True.
Those, but you will have to have, at least here, you have to have 536.
Really? Because Wyoming doesn't tax food anymore.
We tax not real food, which Taco Bell counts as.
We tax prepared food. We don't tax groceries.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can have prepared food that's not Taco Bell. It's still taxed.
I don't know if that's true or not.
All restaurants are Taco Bell
All
in the
restaurants
future.
are Taco Bell. That's right. Come on, guys. We know this already. Let's look at the Corsair K68 RGB mechanical keyboard. This is posted by Christopher.
Could we look at that, please?
We will right now. Christopher Koch posted this up. This is a $119 mechanical Cherry MX Red keyboard, RGB. One thing I will point out right away that I noticed when I was posting this up is that it's only available at Best Buy in the US. I was looking for it on Amazon. I was looking for it on Newegg. Could not find it. But it is a Best Buy exclusive, so keep that in mind. Obviously, you can buy it online if you don't have a Best Buy near you. RGB, this is one of the ones that they consider to be like spill resistant, I guess.
Splash proof?
Yep. They call it splash proof. He did the work here, guys.
Thank the Lord. It's clear.
It looks a little bit like he used a misting gun on it or something.
Yeah. I had it handy for the photo shoot.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Otherwise, a fairly standard, RGB mechanical keyboard. It's a very similar design to one of the keyboards I use a lot. It doesn't have the volume roller on it. I guess they kind of got rid of that. I don't see that on there. No. The Corsair software remains. Ken, is your experience with this software complex, easy to use?
It's not great, but they have that beta of the new one that's supposedly a lot better.
Oh, really?
Yeah. IQ, I believe. Get it?
Oh, yes. They just announced that last week. Okay.
So there was a comment in there at the very top, I believe, on this page, saying that a disadvantage was that the key presses seem slightly softer than a standard red. So is there like a waterproofed membrane between the actual keycap and the switch? Is that how it's splash proof?
Yeah. Spray proof.
Well, I think
I just grabbed the IP rating, the IP32, so it's protected from tools and wires greater than 2.5 millimeters, and water spray less than 15 degrees from vertical.
Okay.
So yeah, you could sort of do a spit take over it.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah. He describes the keys a little bit squishy, so there's obviously a little something in the between the red and the casing there.
A little cushion for the pushing.
So this still isn't a put it in your dishwasher style keyboard if something happens. Okay. All right.
Let's be honest. You need the keyboard that will give the greatest chance of success if you spill your beer on it, and this is it.
Yeah.
It may not be rated for it, but it's gonna be the greatest chance you have.
Agreed. So check that out. Again, it's $119. Corsair K68. We have a Corsair K95 review going up next week as well. That's kind of like a flagship model step above this if you're interested. It is more expensive, but we'll talk about that next week. I don't think that one's a spill-resistant model. Sebastian posted a review of the Azulle Byte 3 Fanless Apollo Lake Mini PC. It looks like that. Any thoughts? Anybody? No? Yes? Quad-core Intel?
It's wee.
It is very small. Quad-core Apollo Lake, the Atom N3450, available in 8 gigs of RAM. Has an eMMC 32 gig partition in it, or not partition, the storage array in it, and then it has 2.5 SSD or M.2 SSD support in there. Obviously, add it on yourself. The M.2 slot is AHCI SATA, not PCIe NVMe or anything of that sort. It does have embedded Wi-Fi, gigabit Ethernet, Bluetooth 4, support for 4K 60 Hz HDMI, SD card slot in here. It's definitely a neat looking device. I've never heard of this brand. I've never heard of this series. Essentially, like
Wow, what's that?
it's a slightly more where
On the back, that blue thing. What is that?
those are
I don't
USB
know.
ports.
No, to the right.
Oh, that's an Ethernet.
No, keep going.
Some sort of
that
serial
power out.
connection. I don't know.
What,
That must
what is
be-
that? With
Oh, that's a
all
serial.
the pins?
That's a
I think that's
serial
only
port.
for industrial
You plug in
use.
your Atari joystick.
That's not a serial port. It's a VGA port.
Yes, I know.
Yeah, no kidding.
Hey, you know what? This is clearly meant for a different classification of system, right? It's got an interesting pattern on the top of it. Looks like a record, kind of. This is something that I would immediately take my fingernail and drag it across and make that sound like you have the.
You should get a needle and it'll play ABBA lyrics backwards for you.
Yep.
But in very short bursts, apparently. In very short bursts. So Sebastian obviously tears this thing apart. It's a bare bones. You kind of have to if you want it to function. You need to add some componentry to it. 2.5
Hard hitting
drive.
analysis from Ryan Shroud.
Hey, I do what I can. You can see where it sits in terms of performance levels. Obviously, if you get into something like a Nook that we've tested here that has a 6th generation Core i7,
That's
it's
the
going
Skull
to
Trail Nook, I believe.
be way faster. Is it?
It's got an HQ part in it.
Oh yeah. You're probably right.
Yeah.
And then ECS, which we have reviewed a lot of their mini PCs, kind of has models, both below it and above it, right? So if you get the Leva Z Plus, it has a full, notebook caliber Core i5-9300U in it. It's obviously going to be much faster in CPU performance, but this new I think I said Adam before, this Celeron N3450 is fairly competent, especially when you get into multi-threading capability over some of the previous models. And you can see that through some of these other benchmarks, Cinebench, PC Mark 8. It is less than $200 and it's bare bones, right? So you still have to add.
Well, it comes with memory.
Oh.
I think it comes with 4 gigs, the one that he got. It's got the 30-some gigs of eMMC memory, so it ships with Win 10.
Yep.
So you can upgrade it with like an M.2 or the SATA that he did.
Huh.
But it would run out of the box, which is kind of impressive. And the most expensive configuration is apparently $338.
Interesting.
So it's certainly low cost.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Editor's choice there. That's for Sebastian, who has seen quite a bit of these devices.
Oh, he's seen it all.
He's seen so much in his time,
So much.
All right, our next review here comes from Alan. He's looking at the ICY DOCK ToughArmor MB516SP-B, which is a high-density 16-bay hot-swappable SAS SATA device. End of review.
End of review.
Holy crap.
So this is what we're looking at.
It's a dual 5 1/4 because physics.
Sure.
You can't fit 16 drives.
Is it a USB 2.0 device?
No.
Disappointing.
No, it's not USB 2.0.
Does this actually fit in chassis unlike the other IC docks
yes,
we've bought
actually,
and tried to put
if
into
you look
chassis?
at that picture closely,
Kind of has the line cut out.
if you look at that
right
picture
here,
closely, that line goes like that groove on the center down the side goes like 2 inches into the enclosure.
Do you think maybe you used a little bit too big of a photo for this?
It's like 1200 by
No, it
something.
is not, good sir. It is 100% not a 1200 pixel
Ryan's
image.
hosting bills are just going
I
up and
thought
up
it resized.
because Alan's.
Hey!
Sorry.
Can you take out 2 Blu-ray devices, drives, and put those in there?
It's kind of what it looks like.
So what,
Then you'd have
what
to
else
have
we
3
got?
optical bays.
Yeah, think
when's the
of
last
how many
time you-
Blu-ray drives you can fit in there.
When was the last time you saw a computer with 3 optical drive bays on it?
No, see, Josh would get the slim
Full.
line. Josh wants IC Dock to make a 6-high slim line Blu-ray mountable thing that fits in 2.
Oh, now we're talking.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So you
That way he
just-
can distribute all of his films on Blu-ray.
yeah, all this films.
They're artistic endeavors.
Yes. So it's a steel drive cage with the, typical hot swap backplane kind of thing. Uses the same kind of hot swap.
Got my favorite Youngling Tech fan on the back.
Yeah, 80 millimeter fan, so you don't have like one of those 20 millimeter crazy high RPM fans.
Right.
It's actually very quiet.
What are these connections in the back? These are the SAS connectors,
These
right?
are mini SAS HD.
Mini SAS HD. Each of those connects to 4 drives.
Yes, each
Okay.
of those is for
Cable's not
Okay,
included.
can I
assume.
complain?
sure.
What?
Usually.
Why does storage need to be in HD?
I
Well,
know.
Hard drive.
Do you
Mini
want-
SAS
It's high
HD.
It's
density.
meant to be high density. The
It's
pins are high density.
definition data.
No, it's high density. High density connector. Like, think about it. You're fitting 4 SATA connectors worth of stuff there, and that one
Connector cannot be high density. I'm sorry. A connector is
just
just
a
a connector.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Okay.
It's higher. Yes, you can have higher density than previous connectors, but whatever.
Yeah.
And then
I mean, you could
is
say,
it-
okay, so don't call it that. Call it small form factor 8643 if you
Yeah,
really
perfect.
like.
I love that.
Okay, fine.
Yeah, I like
Do
that.
that one. Jesus.
And, is this power just
Wait,
SATA
is
power?
Jesus joining this podcast?
Yes. Just
Where?
standard SATA power style connectors. You don't.
Still only 4 of them for 16 drives?
Yes, and they're all bus together, so you don't even actually have to connect all 4 there. You can get away with like 2, or depends on how much power your devices are going to draw. But
Yes,
And
I
16
mean,
hard drives.
Yeah, I wouldn't use 2 of them for 16
yeah,
hard drives. Probably.
you'd have to find 7 millimeter
Yeah,
hard drives.
I thought busing became illegal
sure.
about 30 years ago.
Josh is on a roll, everybody.
That's some sweet, sweet sighing
Yes.
coming from Alan. Sweet.
So that's what he was after. He got it. So we plugged a bunch of drives into this and did some quick tests just to make sure.
All the lights are green.
Well, yeah, all the lights are green. The lights light up green if the drives are powered and idle, and then as the activity is the opposite, it actually like turns the light off for activity.
So you plugged in 16 1 terabyte SSDs from.
Okay, how did
Kingston.
you get one group to send you 16 1 terabyte SSDs?
By asking repeatedly over a very long period of time.
Did you send any videos?
No, what we did was we had Ken ask for 4, and then I asked for 4, and Alan asked for 4, and then Alex asked for 4.
Yeah, and then we combined. It was like
No,
Voltron.
but we did it over a 3-month period, so nobody would find out.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So between that and all the testing so far, we only did a little bit of testing just to make sure. Okay, are these things going full speed? Because there's really nothing else to this. There's no chips.
There's no controller here. There's no RAID array. There's nothing like that.
Yeah, it's just a pass through straight through the backplane to the drives.
It's a housing.
It's basically just housing. Yeah, it looks a little more complicated when you look at the PCBs, but in reality, it's just electrically connecting those mini SAS connectors to the
Got it.
to the drive.
It's still impressive to see these speeds, isn't it? Wouldn't you say it's impressive to see these big numbers, Alan? Do you think it's cool that we can see these big numbers?
I like the big
It's not as
numbers.
big
Thank
as
you.
it should be, but yes.
I hear that.
They always want it bigger.
We got 6 gig per second using a Rocket RAID 840A. 6 gig per second just happens to be the rated maximum of that particular RAID card. So we're kind of limited there. So then I backed off on the drive count. And in Atto, we still got close to 6 gig per second, down with 14 drives.
Okay.
which if you divide that out gets you closer to like what a full speed SATA drive is, but it wasn't the full speed of it. It was still like 100 meg per second shy or something like that. So I dropped it to 8 and then did an iometer, just straight sequential read. That gave us just over 4 gig per second, which worked out to 515 meg per second per drive, which is kind of what you would expect full speed.
So why are you complaining about the speed here? 6 gig.
I mean, yeah,
second.
no, it's good. It's just that you can't get
double NVMe.
Well,
double.
Yeah, I'm with you.
You know what, Alan? Happily, excess is never enough.
True. So this is 120. No.
I included the price of the 8-bay model for comparison.
Oh, I see.
So this one, which is not on Newegg or Amazon yet, is $340.
$340.
Yeah, it's kind of up there.
What do you get for $340?
An electrical bridge.
A box.
So here's
not
the thing.
What you see in that package.
You can't easily just buy 2 of the $120 model and just stack them on top of each other and then use it, because you'd need a card with 16 SATA ports on it. Individual SATA ports, which is kind of a pain.
Can you not get cables that will go from 16 SATA ports to 4 mini SSHD?
You can.
Those are the UHD ones.
Those are more expensive than the... those are the UHD ones. Those are more expensive even than the cables that are just straight mini SATA.
Are they $120 more expensive?
Maybe not.
But closer than you might think.
Yeah. I don't know. And also there's the fact that I'm not sure that the price of this is going to hold at the MSRP like the other model has. And that's because it's already for sale for like $288. And that's with it only being at like 3 places so far, 3 outlets. And it's kind of hard to find so far. So
it's an impressive collection of stuff there. What's the RAID card you have there? What's the
that is the Rocket 840A.
Got it.
Rocket RAID.
So
High Point.
Is this the device that we had the weird issue with the one cable dropping out a couple weeks ago?
Yeah, that was the early version of the PCB for this. We were working with ICY DOCK.
Okay.
ICY DOCK revised this product on account of our testing.
To be fair, they were shipping a broken product.
Yes.
It's not like they sent us one for review pre-production. They were shipping this and then recalled it.
I think they were about to ship it, or started already shipping it. Granted, it's only at 3 places even now, and it's been like a couple months later. Right.
Sure.
So I'm not sure what the level of, like, it's not like you could buy it on Amazon and it was a defective product. But we did. I think we were the first people to sample it from them, and thank goodness for them. Probably is that like we caught this pretty early. It was like, hey, this might not work right with a couple of these RAID cards here. And then they went, oh yeah, let's send you a revised PCB to try. So that's how in the internal picture.
So what does anybody need this for?
You'd need to put 16 drives in a machine.
Okay.
And be able to hot swap them.
Hey Brian. How would frame rating work with this?
Probably pretty damn well.
I mean, pretty well considering 2 SSDs.
Or
I think 2 SSDs will work just fine.
2
in
could
RAID
probably
0,
handle
but
it.
We used 4 in RAID 0.
Oh, yeah,
we did, but I wouldn't think we had to. But
whatever.
It's a little overkill, but you do get the nice capacity.
That's true.
You sure do.
16 tier.
I will say this:
if you're extremely before you say that, even what I was saying was like, if you're extremely sensitive to latency, specifically for writes, you probably want to stick with something like a 750.
I'm not sensitive to latency as long as it goes. I don't like.
Are you worried about drop frames for frame rating? Is your issue?
It's not latency. That's like
that is latency. That's
we're currently using 4 SandForce 2 SSDs and a promise RAID enclosure over Thunderbolt 1.
Like
so
Gen
I think
1,
we're not latency.
If that worked, I think in that case though, your OS
we're not latency bound.
I think your OS was helping you buffering some stuff.
Maybe
before it went over Thunderbolt.
All I know is that original OCZ drive did not work because it was doing way too much of that sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It was dropping frames over.
And that drive was supposed to be really good at that.
Oh well.
All right. Before we get into our ad, then any other follow-ups on the?
No, I mean it was cool. The only really thing I could ding it on was that those little numbers that you like stick on the trays.
Yeah.
Which can be swapped around, like if you had extra spare trays or whatever. The ones they give you only count up to 8.
And it's a 16-bay drive?
Yeah, they give you 2 sets of them.
That's
two things.
That's,
2 things.
What?
Yes.
One, did you do the spray test on that drive array?
Excuse me?
Exactly. Did you do the spray test?
Like we did on the keyboard, you mean?
That was in the power supply review. The white stuff?
No. The keyboard. I'm not that gross.
Alan wasn't paying attention. It's fine.
And two, Ryan, somebody give you a hickey?
What?
Look at your neck.
What about it? Oh.
At his neck.
Look about this.
He got
What
that,
happened,
He got that in a
man?
fight with a
I
congressman.
probably shaved.
That monthly maintenance.
That one spot.
We don't all have laser treatment to get that long.
You know what? Not everybody
very well.
can go in front of Congress.
Thank you. It was a nerve-wracking couple of days for me.
It was. But you know what? What's up with the single Windsor knot tie?
I drank that water very well. Thank you very much. All right. Before we get to our ad for the day, we do have 2 new Patreons. Mr. Poopy Butthole just pledged $3. That's awesome.
I'm so juvenile.
You are. And John Anderson pledged $5. So thank you to both of you for that.
Thank you,
greatly
Mr.
appreciate it.
Anderson.
Has it been 20 seconds yet?
I'm going to make it 20 seconds. I will say this in advance. We're going to mute Josh during the entirety of this advertisement.
Because it's all raw meat in a box.
It is actually.
Let's check out.
It is actually. That is actually that. All right, so let's talk about today's sponsor. If you can control yourself.
Okay, I'm going to be good. Hang on. Let me take a couple of deep breaths.
No one can be prepared for free bacon.
Free bacon's going to be great. Although, again, Jeremy's spoiling it. Well, I guess no. If you're listening to this after the fact, you've also already heard the lead-in, I guess, to that as well. So let's say thanks to our latest addition to the sponsor, ButcherBox, for supporting our podcast. ButcherBox is essentially a meat delivery service. As Josh said, a raw meat delivery service. You choose from curated boxes, including a mix of high-quality beef, chicken, and pork, or you can actually customize it yourself. Each box is shipped with carefully calculated amount of dry ice to ensure it remains frozen after it reaches your doorstep. ButcherBox delivers grass-fed and grass-finished beef, free-range organic chicken, and heritage breed pork. It's antibiotic and hormone free, and you can cook with peace of mind knowing you're eating healthy, high quality meat. They have an interesting selection of stuff here. It's pretty robust. ButcherBox carefully curates finest selections and cuts, makes it easy to customize your delivery. And you can think of ButcherBox as your neighborhood butcher to get quality beef, chicken, and pork delivered right to your door. And to me, that's probably the most important. It's delivered right to my door. I don't have to pick it out. And it all works out really well. ButcherBox meats come from humanely raised animals that are never fed antibiotics, hormones, or fatty fillers. We had a ButcherBox delivered to us, and it did come with free bacon, which I'll mention here in just a second. Very important free bacon. That was the first thing we cooked, of course, and that was a very good, very tasty breakfast for us. My daughter, a big fan of bacon. In fact, we give her bacon, eggs, pancakes, sausage. It's pretty much bacon, then sausage, and then I'm done. That's pretty much all. That's all she does. She used to eat pancakes all the time. Now, not so much. We cooked 2 New York strips last night that were actually really, really good. And either I became an overnight fantastic chef, or
unlikely.
If it does seem unlikely, or the steaks were really good. Just didn't have to do anything to them. Put them on the grill last night. It was a little cold here, but I felt like I needed to grill some of those steaks up before we did the ad specifically. So that worked out really, really well. We do have an offer for you. It's important. Everybody needs to pay attention now. This is something you're going to want to take advantage of. For free bacon.
You had me at meat in a box.
I know, but I'm going to make it better, Josh.
You just said free bacon.
For free bacon. And $20 off your first box. Go to butcherbox.com/PCPer and enter the promo code PCPer. That's free bacon and $20 off your first box when you go to butcherbox.com/PCPer and enter code PCPer. And we thank ButcherBox for their support of our podcast. And
I don't know how anybody's going to turn down free bacon.
It would be very hard to do. Because it is free.
I mean, it's free.
And it is bacon.
Free bacon.
And literally, as soon as you say that, everybody's ears perk up. Everybody's more attentive. Huh? What's that? Free bacon?
I mean, it might have free as in beer beat.
Free as in bacon would be a good substitute, I think.
Free bacon.
All right.
As I was saying before the podcast, generally free beer,
You never know. What
Take it
you're
or leave
getting.
it.
Yeah. Free bacon?
Free bacon?
Oh, yeah. You got me now.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Let's go down to the news items here. I told you this is where the meat of the show would be.
There.
So they would even deliver meat in a box to me in Wyoming.
You have to put in your zip code and make sure, but I think so, yes.
Zip
And in the winter, they don't need dry ice.
No, they probably don't.
They say
you just
they
walk
actually have
outside
you
and
pack
spring
ice
cow.
into it
Drive ice.
and send it back to them so they could use it later.
Sure.
I didn't have a news post for this. So let's talk about something. We didn't have a news story or a link to really talk about. I could have linked to some other site that posted about it. But Chris Hook has left AMD after, I don't know, like 100 years or something at the company. I think it's actually like, what, 20, Josh,
20.
or something like that?
20.
Started at ATI, young pup, apparently in his 20s. I don't remember what those were like.
His 20s or your 20s?
His 20s. I don't remember what his 20s were like. And well, both. I don't
'cause
remember
we
what
were
my
like
20s were like
3.
either. So he was a PR guy / marketing guy at AMD, you know, really took charge of a lot of stuff there, responsible for a lot of events that media would attend to learn about new architectures, to learn about new products, responsible for a lot of marketing that went in with the Radeon brand, especially once the Radeon Technologies group was created. He has now left AMD. He's announced that he's left AMD. He hasn't announced where he's going, but he has said he has already taken another job. So, and it'll be there by the end of April. So we won't have to wait long to figure out what that's going to be. He's replaced by, oh no, I lost my notes. Sasa Marinkovic.
Marinkovic.
Yeah, there we go. Who I also know does a really good job. Has a little bit different style, right, in terms of their marketing. So I'll be curious to see what changes take place at AMD and the Radeon side, and if he's going to handle any of the CPU side stuff as well. It'll be interesting to see. Obviously, the speculation is that Chris is going to go to Intel and work with Raja. He was very close with Raja. Raja now at AMD leading that graphics division. Could end up in NVIDIA. Obviously, he has a lot of background in graphics, would be beneficial there if NVIDIA wanted to, you know, ramp up their PR marketing departments. I don't know. Or if you're Intel, do you need somebody to kind of get that ball rolling? I think it'll be a really interesting thing to follow.
I think he's going to that cold pressed juice place.
Oh,
out of San Francisco.
Oh yeah.
No, not the live water place.
It could be
Raw
that.
water, I think you mean.
Raw water.
Life of water is just ridiculous.
I'll give you some raw water.
So it's interesting that there is some more transitioning happening inside AMD. And one thing I would point out, just from my own editorial contribution to this, it would be that I think it's probably a positive move for both of these parties involved, Chris and AMD. Chris has been there for a really long time. He's done a lot of great stuff, but clearly, with the way Vega turned out and everything, that there was just a lot of animosity towards the company and in the company about how things were handled and what directions needed to be taken going forward.
Like Vega Nano.
Yeah,
that were showed off.
That forever photo will be burned in my image of Chris holding up that Vega Nano as he went through security going into that AMD event at SIGGRAPH. And for AMD, they kind of get a fresh start. They can kind of, you know, get an idea of where they want to go. For Chris, he gets to take on a new adventure, you know, address some new challenges, do some interesting things, and I'm sure he's going to do fine. He's currently on a vacation with his family where he doesn't have to worry about checking a work email for the first time in 20-something years.
So you're just spamming him emails all the time, aren't you?
Yeah, I have his personal email address, so it's just over and over.
Hey.
How about now?
How's it going?
What are you doing? Look at this
going?
picture of the shrimp I got in a box.
Check out my meat box.
Oh man, he's had like 8 on the
Got
purple
him good.
Josh.
Got him
scale.
good. Speaking of some AMD happenings, let's see. I think it was Mark Papermaster that posted this. Yes, Mark Papermaster, Senior Vice President and CTO at AMD, posted an update on AMD processor security. This has nothing to do with the CTS Labs BS that occurred. This is instead about Spectre mitigation. So,
an actual insecure thing.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. The thing that was actually real.
Wasn't this the one that was extremely like couldn't even be reproduced as it was already.
So I don't know. Well, so
It was highly improbable.
it was. They called it near
not
zero.
Impossible.
Yeah, they called it. This is the one they called near zero. This is for Spectre variant 2. So variant 1 is the one that was fixed through operating system updates.
Right.
Meltdown was the one that AMD's architecture wasn't susceptible to because of the architectural differences between it and Intel.
Right.
And this is variant 2, which is the one that everybody's, that AMD said near zero, but not zero. And these mitigations should help take that to actual zero. Now, these are the same things. This works the same way in what Intel has done, in that Microsoft has to release an operating system update containing mitigations, and AMD users will need to update the microcode on their motherboards or platforms. They've apparently released to their customers and ecosystem partners for processors all the way dating back to the very first bulldozers back in 2011.
Which is a bit better than Intel.
I think it's about the same.
It's about the same.
It's pretty
a little
close.
bit better.
Now, what
But so far, we have not had firmwares pulled from the AMD side.
Also true.
What do you mean by pulled?
Correct, because of like locked booting and stuff like that. Yeah.
Oh,
Well, I
okay.
mean, they haven't released new BIOSes yet, right? Like they just sent these out to these customers yesterday. So your Asus MSI Gigabytes of the world, they're getting them yesterday.
Oh, nice. So we'll get a nice surprise next week.
So in theory, we should get these new BIOS updates. Now,
within a week.
I mean, it
Okay,
depends
2
on
weeks.
how.
Pull out those 990FX boards and do compatibility testing. I'm sure everyone's happy about that.
Yeah. So one of the things I was actually really curious about, though, was they do not mention at all in this post or in my questions to them anything about performance, right? Intel's been very upfront talking about performance degradations that come with these microcode updates, everything from 0% in gaming to 25% in
Eventually
storage. What's that?
Eventually upfront about performance hits.
Correct. I wouldn't say day one they were very open, but as as it hit the fan,
I mean, should we suspect really that there would be some major?
I don't know.
We don't know what they're doing, so
I don't know what they're doing. I don't know how it's different than Intel.
We don't know how they're fixing
Correct.
it, how they're mitigating it.
And they're not telling us, right? And again, as soon as we get that first BIOS update, people are going to start doing testing. So
Yeah.
I think it makes sense for AMD to be very upfront about this and talk about it. And if it's, what worries me is the fact that they're not talking about it.
And then if there is a slowdown,
Well, no, to me, if they're not saying that there's no performance degradation, to me, it means that there is performance degradation and they don't want to talk about it. And either way, if there is none, talk about it and brag about it. If there is some, you need to talk about it and be upfront with the community before people figure it out and start, doing a witch hunt type thing around it.
yeah.
So
Because then you might have somebody think they figured out something, but they're testing it the wrong way, and then now it looks worse than it actually is. And
Correct. So while I'm glad to see AMD put out these updates, I would like more detail. And it's not like AMD hasn't had time with this stuff. They got notified at the same time Intel got notified. So give me some more information, Mark. I need more information. Speaking of questions you might have for AMD, let's talk about Kaby Lake G. And apparently there's ongoing, continued, new controversy around whether or not the GPU on this processor is based on Polaris or based on Vega. And I know, Josh, you had an interesting point about this, because I know when we were first hearing the rumors about Kaby Lake G, we were debating whether or not it was going to be a Polaris-based part or a Vega-based part. Then we found out that it had HBM2 memory. And
then everybody jumped on, well, it's obviously got to be Vega.
Well, yeah, because Polaris had never shipped with anything other than a GDDR5 memory controller integrated onto it. It's not an easy swap. It's not just a switch you can flip back and forth and say, oh, I want to operate at this time in HBM and I want to operate at this time in GDDR.
Sure it is. There's FIFO buffers involved. So, yeah, you can shoehorn anything in there with enough time.
Well, yes, but I'm saying is it's not like built into the architecture.
No, it's not. Yeah, it's a significant change in die layout.
So the other kind of interesting data points in this are that If you install a Vega 56, Vega 64, and you run the DX Diag tool, which is a little thing that pops up all the different variants of DirectX that are supported by that GPU, those add-in cards show that they support DirectX 12.1. The Kaby Lake G system shows that it does not. It only supports 12.0. Thought there was another data point too. Oh yeah, Tom's Hardware did some testing where they looked at, they were trying to look at FP16 and FP32 math. I don't know what just happened to my, there it zoomed in. I didn't want to do that. Oh, no, now it's too much. There we go.
Too much.
So basically, if you look at this graph, Vega 56 and Vega 64 get a performance uplift when you enable half precision floating point shaders. The RX 47 based on Polaris sees nothing. The Ryzen 5
Can I ask a question here?
Can I finish my statement first?
Sure.
He's going to let you finish.
Ryzen 5 2400G sees the same uplift. We're talking about uplifts of 60+%, whereas Polaris and the Kaby Lake G see essentially 0% uplift. So now, Josh, you may make a point.
So what happened to FP24?
Nobody cared.
Oh, come on. That was the Radeon 9700 Pro.
Yeah, what year was that?
It may have been 2003,
maybe
2002.
Yeah. So like I said, nobody cared.
Okay, anyway.
Nobody cares now. So now the debate was, is this a Vega part? Is this a Polaris part? There are clearly some features that are either not enabled or not included on this part that should be in Vega. But it does have a different memory controller than what we've ever seen from Polaris. Josh, what are your thoughts on this whole debacle, I'll call it?
Okay, so Kyle a while ago talked about this. What last year he released the first information that he had gotten that Intel had set up shop in Markham, Ontario.
Yes, correct.
Yes, and that they were co-designing a part. And so if you were looking at that, you knew that they had been there for like a year before. And if you go back a year before, Vega hadn't even been taped out. So they were taking what looked to be a Polaris part, adding the HBM2 support, making sure it worked with Intel. And I think the biggest part of all that is really going to be the power control of this part integrating with what Intel wants to do so it can hit a pretty decent TDP but still have really good performance. And so there was a lot of hands-on stuff, and it wouldn't make any sense to go ahead and do a Vega architecture because that hadn't been even taped out yet. It was still in the design phases, but Polaris was available. So they took what they had and integrated that in, and as far as I'm concerned, they did a fantastic job working together to make this part. And so, yeah, it's called Vega, and you would hope that would be Vega, but the timeline that they were working on this to make sure it worked as well as it did, it kind of had to be Polaris.
I guess. I mean, Vega taped out in 2016.
Supposedly, this started in spring of 2016 and possibly winter 2015.
It's possible. I think the other thought I had during talking about how far back Intel would be up in Markham is a lot of it is around they wanted it to be perfect, so they weren't just going to throw a couple of guys up there 3 months beforehand. And a lot of that development work might have been, EMIB implementation or, just other validation stuff. It's an interesting debate now. There's a couple of other things I would mention. One, in terms of what you lack if you're running Polaris rather than Vega is truthfully still pretty minor, right? You lose the ability to support, double packed, rapid packed math, the new geometry shaders that aren't implemented in anything yet. What am I missing? There's another Vega specific
HBCC.
HBCC, yeah, which again you're not going to use on this type of solution, like a notebook type of solution.
There's something with tile-based rendering as well.
No, I don't think it's tile
No,
based
they're all
rendering.
TBR.
Yeah,
Okay.
there was another
minimal.
There was another thing, but you know, if you remember back to like the Vega 64, Vega 56 launch, and before that the Vega Frontier editions, there were a lot of stories, including some of ours, that talked about the lack of IPC improvements going from Polaris to Vega, that the compute units remained fundamentally the same. And if you put them at clock for clock settings, they are performing nearly identically. And so with that in mind, you know, does this change my opinion about Kaby Lake G as a part? No, it does not. You know, the Nook system, no, it does not. I still think it's a very high performance part.
I think one of the interesting things is that's kind of confusing in all of this is if you look back at our review of the Hades Canyon Nook, I tested Far Cry 5. It's one of these games that supports rapid packed math, and it is the game that saw the biggest performance lead for the 8809G. Saw an unusually high performance gap.
Yeah, I mean,
odd.
It would be interesting to look at that and compare. We'd have to compare, you know, a Vega 56 to an RX 480 to this and see, like, enable the feature.
You can't do that
versus
on the same CPU platform.
Like if you go to Far Cry 5, can you even enable that feature?
I don't think it's a feature you enable.
Oh, okay.
I think it just happens.
It's just part of the engine.
It can do FP16.
Yeah. So it's. I understand why people are miffed about this, and I think it was a poor decision to call it, you know, Vega M graphics. And now I'm very curious, whose decision was it to call it Vega M graphics? Was it Intel's pushing? Was it AMD's pushing? You know, you could see reasons why you'd want this from both angles. Intel would want it to appear to be the most recent architecture, right? They want this new part to feel like it's the newest best thing. That they got the best from Radeon. They didn't want to have the second best architecture from Radeon in their solution. AMD might want Vega to be on the branding because this is every time Intel goes out and pushes that product, it's branding and messaging for Vega going forward, right? And talking about, hey, even Intel wants to use our new Vega architecture. Everybody should want to use Vega.
So is this part like something that would have had to have been like taped out separately? In other words, it's a modification of either one or the other.
Yeah,
right.
It would have to have been.
So is it not possible that, like, okay, so maybe they had development done on like a few major parts of Vega?
Well,
and they're just like, all right, well, we can just kind of stick this part in there, but we don't have all the rest of the stuff done.
So like the CUs are different on this part as opposed to like a Vega 56 part from what I remember. Like they have more ROPs.
The ROP ratio is different as well, yes.
So it's like an even more customized part than just taking a Vega compute
but that's
core.
something they might have done just because it has just a different number of processors. They just wanted to architect it slightly differently for whatever the reasons are, like packaging or whatever. Who knows, right?
I think what should have happened is this shouldn't have had Vega branding. It shouldn't have Polaris branding.
It should have had its own.
It should have had its own branding, right? But that you know, maybe doesn't benefit. And I wrote this in my story, right? Is like, if you do that, literally every technical editor is going to come to you and be like, yeah, okay, but what's it like? Yeah. Because we do that with Xbox and PlayStation. We go, yeah. It's custom, sure. But what is it closest to? Yeah. Is it like an RX 460? Is it like an RX 580? Right? Like, we always ask these questions. So maybe they thought they were getting around to that.
You could still argue that it's probably closer to Vega, right? Doesn't have all the features.
I think you would probably argue it's closer to Polaris plus HBM2 memory. Oh. Right? But again, doesn't matter. And as I write in the piece, the nature of semi-custom chip design is that, in bold letters, they are custom. Yeah. And it was always called a semi-custom part. But because they attached that word Vega to it, it caused all this confusion. Do I think it changes its positioning in the market? I do not. Do I put a whole lot of weight behind the inability for it to do rapid pack math and new geometry shaders that aren't implemented in anything yet? I do not. Would it be nice if they did? Yes. But they don't, and, you know.
Yeah. I don't think people are buying this Nook for rapid pack math.
You know, I don't give half a rat's ass that it's not Vega. Honest to God, it at the price and the TDP, it offers wonderful performance at The level of integration is impressive. I mean, it really is. One kind of little chip that's about the size, slightly larger than a NVMe drive.
Yep.
And you get all of that. All of it.
All right. Before we move on to our next set of Intel rumors, we have Patreon pledges from, this is a good one. Not Ryan's mom. Balls up Kingfish. What is the current record pledge? Just edited their pledge from 113.11 to 123.45.
I mean, what does that even mean?
Wow.
Holy crap.
I know. This is pretty awesome. Thank you, Not Ryan's mom.
The record pledge is $1,500. So
Yeah, I mean, if we're gonna spike it, we'll spike a little bit higher. I think there might be somebody over 123.45. I'll have to load check later. And then I guess based on Jeremy's silence this episode, we have one that just pledged $5 of why is Jeremy on this show? Pledged $5. And we're going to answer that question right now because Jeremy's going to tell us about the latest Intel rumors. Jeremy?
Yeah, we got a few of them too.
You do.
The first one I don't think too many people care about, which is that Kaby Lake X is likely going to die before the end of the year.
if it was ever alive.
It was never really alive in any way. It was just sort of announced about the same time Ryzen was, and no one cared.
I mean,
So,
it was
you know-
announced with Skylake X, right? They announced all these parts.
They announced and launched them.
Yeah.
The two.
I think we had one.
Yeah, we have a 7740X, I think.
Yeah.
A whole one.
Yeah.
That's
Some
true.
more shields than that.
A lot more, actually.
If you like your 7700K to be on a bigger socket, there you go.
Always.
Now, as far as what we do care about, Skylake X is getting a refresh, and one of the parts about it is that they're moving to solder underneath the heat spreader as a TIM. So people won't be delitting these ones as much as they have the last. And this also means, from the rumors, about 150, 200 megahertz jump in frequency just based on that.
What's the timing of that? Do they say when those new parts might be out?
Towards the end of the year-ish.
Okay.
So think Q3, Q4. But the other thing about it, and it was Supermicro that let this one slip, is that you're going to have a 300-watt TDP.
Oh my God, that ad.
Jesus.
Come back.
Which
Where?
is utterly insane. And
That's a lot.
so Supermicro essentially said, our new X299 boards are going to support up to a 300-watt TDP. So,
That's gonna be a
there's going to be some
big
VRM layout changes.
Sink.
You're going to coat those VRMs in gold?
Yeah.
So it
So
can
the-
melt down and you can sell it and buy another system.
No, but
Yes.
aluminum dissipates heat faster. Copper just conducts it faster. So just coat them in aluminum. It's much cheaper.
Fine.
Yeah.
Works for wiring.
300.
But you know
so
what?
A 300
This is
watt
not
processor. What the hell?
Sorry. What?
Well, the rumor is
Am I
that
behind?
their boards are going to support 300-watt TDPs. So, if you add overclocking in there, I don't think they're going to ship a 300-watt processor.
So 275 still. That's pretty impressive.
Look
like
at how
a
much
GPU.
power
Yeah.
the 7900X was drawing when you were overclocking it.
Yeah. Oh, it was a lot.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I would hope it's not 300 on the base and then you can overclock it.
What if it's 300 on the base and they're not allowing you to overclock?
That would sound like Intel.
That's kind of been a thing.
I would do that.
Do you know the numbers of AMD's Threadripper versus Intel's 299 series?
Numbers in
What
terms of like
numbers?
shipping? Like
Yeah,
one is
apparently
$299, one's
AMD
$399.
ate about 30% of that market with Threadripper.
I do
And
not
it
know
is
that
no
offhand.
joke that
And that's something
Intel is responding.
that's something that sways, month to month as well. I will say it's significant. I don't think it's up to 50%, but it might be in that 30% range.
No, 30. Yeah, I would imagine 25 to 30 because it's a solid product for a lot cheaper.
And if you imagine, we're probably going to see a new Threadripper that's, say, Computex time period, judging on when,
Yeah.
we're getting up on Zen Plus launch, it seems. Like they said about April. So,
Yeah.
What's
What are the other things that stand out on this roundup of rumors?
Well, the other two things are Cascade Lake is probably going to be 2019 as opposed to the end of 2018 as we were hoping. So again, likely to see it at Computex around the same time you're seeing that other processor.
All right.
And a very quick mention with almost no details whatsoever about Intel's new discrete GPU, which is going to be called Arctic Sound. And so you'll get the on-die version, sort of like you've got with the Vega chip right now, and a discrete GPU accelerator for streaming tasks and, from the sounds of it, the HPC duties that NVIDIA does. Raja's going to be working on it, but I don't expect to see them in the desktops.
Yeah,
And again, all rumors.
It's very early for GPU design, right? So there's two avenues that Intel could take in that regard. They could take their existing architecture that already, is fairly good in the integrated sense, and you could just scale it up, right? And then you scale it up, you make a much bigger chip, and you decide, well, is this TDP valuable? Do all the fixed function units, can we attach enough ROPs? Can we attach a wide enough memory interface to it to make it all function and usable? You could do that, and you could do that relatively quickly if you have all the tools in place and all the personnel in place. I'm very curious if Arctic Sound is supposed to be a new architecture, and anything is being said about it in 2018. That's really quick.
Well, I mean, I think the rumor was that it was a part that was more focused on like server acceleration for things like encoding. It
was immediate,
probably using Gen 9 architecture.
Yeah,
that they're going to try to repurpose as more of a discrete GPU solution.
I mean, they could do that. My advice to them would be, oh, please, dear Lord, if it's not honestly a very good part, do not release it. Right, like. If you're Intel at this point,
they've got all this like positive hype around them. Like, oh, what are they going to do? What's their discrete GPU going to look like? And if they release a clunker,
the Intel i740, Josh, you remember that part, right? Intel i740, discrete GPU,
discrete GPU. Yeah,
it was probably in 1999.
Starfighter 3D.
That's right, correct.
Starfighter.
Yep. It was not very good, but it was okay.
No, it was good if they had released it on time. But they decided to add all these AGP function to it and made it essentially a year and a half late.
Well, tough toodles, I guess.
What it is.
All right. We have this Dell G series on the rundown, but I think I deleted it from the show notes, so I don't have a link for it. But Dell released G series gaming notebooks. I don't have anything for it.
Yeah, I think it's like their Inspiron level gaming notebooks. It's their sort of mainstream gaming notebooks, not the Alienware stuff. So, I mean, they've had the Inspiron 15 gaming for a while. I think they're just kind of rebranding. HP did a similar thing today. We didn't have the news up on it, but they have Inspiron gaming notebooks now, as opposed to their Omen stuff. The
HP does not have Inspiron notebooks.
Pavilion.
There you go. I was like, I was thinking through my wheels, and I was like, no, something's not right in that sentence. Oh, there it is. Yep, got
They're
it.
very similar brands.
They
if
are
you think
Pavilion,
about
Inspiron. Yeah. I got it.
So
okay, all right. So there's that. Let's talk about Samsung 7 nanometer. Apparently, based on this story from Tim, Samsung completes development of its 7 nanometer process tech. This is a heavily translated document, so keep that in mind as we go through all the details. They're 6 months ahead of schedule with its 7 nanometer EUV process.
I wouldn't think you would ever be complete with the development of a process technology. Just saying.
Well, you complete development,
I mean,
and you put it into production.
Yeah. But you're always like, trying to get higher
You're always
yields
tweaking it in better. Oh, sure.
Yeah.
They have their first customer apparently in Qualcomm. Their Samsung's pushing hard and fast with its process technology. Let's see. $6 billion in a dedicated EUV line at its foundry in Hwaseong, Korea, and a slated for completion second half of next year.
That picture with that density of buildings there, that's accurate. Like the surrounding buildings.
Yeah. Like,
how in the hell did they afford to even clear that much space?
Government.
Out of that area?
Because Samsung owns pretty much
the
all
government.
That place.
Yeah.
Wait, did somebody go to jail for that already?
And not only
sure
that,
they
but
did.
that
Maybe.
those are all pools on top of the
Swimming pools.
buildings.
Like you drive around Korea, like those
Heated
buildings.
pools, though.
Those buildings on like the bottom left there are like apartment buildings for the workers.
Yeah.
And they actually say Samsung on the side of them.
Yeah.
And those are
that happens
all
a lot.
over freaking Korea.
Yeah.
And don't ever try and buy a Dyson vacuum there.
Fair.
I mean, you wouldn't be surprised to like.
Apparently, Samsung has 10 EUV units on track to produce the Snapdragon 855 for Qualcomm towards the end of this year or early next year.
We know how much power those EUV units pull.
I know how much power some EUV units pull because I've seen Global Foundries, but I assume that they're only made by one person.
Let me tell you this. There's one group that is actually selling EUV units.
I think it's like a 120 watt laser, but I forget what the source power is for that.
It's like 10 megawatts.
Yeah, it's a lot.
The whole thing.
Yeah, it's. I think that might be too
some
much.
brownouts in those Samsung company apartments.
The employees don't need electricity. We need to run the EUV units. Go.
Cannot browse the internet from the hours of 8 a.m. to 4 p.m.
Well,
or turning lights on
when the work shift's going on. Nobody's at all the apartments because they're all at the factory. So
they switch the power off to get you out in time.
Yeah.
It's interesting to talk about this stuff. So, like, I went and saw EUV Global Foundries. They were installing their second machine when I was there. They weren't in production level stuff yet, though. Samsung has already surpassed Intel in terms of being the largest semiconductor company in the world in terms of revenue. Like Samsung Semi outpaced all of Intel, not including Samsung's refrigerator TV business, right? Samsung Semi.
I think they actually have more clean room space than Intel does now,
that would not surprise me.
It has to. I mean, as much memory as they produce. Yeah. So I think this is good news. It's bad news for if you're Intel. It's bad news if you're Global Foundries. It's bad news if you're TSMC maybe. But for the industry, for people who are looking to build these chips, Qualcomm, if they are in fact the first customer with the Snapdragon 855, what benefits do they get out of 7 nanometer? Right? I don't know the answer to that yet, but actually, this story says Samsung notes that 7 nanometer process can produce dies about 40% smaller than its 10 nanometer process. And the smaller process can offer 10% more performance or up to 35% more power efficiency at the same level of performance, which will be a huge boost for mobile processors and products. So again, if this leaked translated story is accurate, that's a pretty big boost for 2020.
2020, I can believe it. 2019, no. EUV is still, I mean, last year there were some, honest to goodness, the beginning of last year, there were 10 units around the world that were actually under testing and doing anything.
It's amazing how quickly people can produce things if you're willing to buy them for hundreds of millions of dollars.
For a lot of money.
As it turns out. But interesting news nonetheless. And then also in clean room news, Micron is apparently constructing a new clean room for 3D NAND fabrication and research and development in Singapore. Let's see. The new facility is being built adjacent to Micron's existing NAND facility, where Micron has already invested $4 billion to expand in 2016, although they did not disclose the investment for the new clean room space, except that it was a multi-billion-dollar project. Micron is another one of those companies that is a huge beneficiary of the memory market in its current state.
Yeah.
Right? They're
making DRAM.
They make DRAM, do they make flash? They make flash.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
They
Micron Flash, IMFT.
Yeah. But they
Intel and Micron.
They're interesting in that they're one of the I want to say they're one of the few verticals, but really it's all the verticals, the vertical companies that are the most powerful. Samsung, Micron, Intel. Although Intel uses other people's flash and stuff and controllers occasionally as well.
Micron uses other people's controllers.
Yeah.
They don't make their own controllers generally, but they make everything else. The DRAM on the SSD, the flash on the SSD.
It was interesting when we had the reps from Micron
John
out here, the two Johns. Yeah, the two Johns, if you will, out here. They talked very specifically about focusing on consumer level products. Yeah. They wanted to push the Crucial brand. It was a Crucial brand.
It's a Crucial brand, yeah.
To consumer level products, not just white boxing, OEM, all that type of stuff.
Right.
And
yeah, the Micron brand is like the OEM, and then the Crucial brand is just like the retail. Yeah.
But it's an interesting discussion about where is it most profitable, right? When you sell to the end consumer, they are cost conscious.
That's
right?
true.
We are watching dollar per gig.
Yeah.
Right. Whereas if you're only selling it to the enterprise market, you're selling it to these server units.
Yeah. And Micron does make very high end server parts as well for SSDs, right? But And what's ironic is like when you get to the Crucial side of things, typically you have like, MX500s or in the past, all the way back to like MX100. That was always the one you saw in like the fire sale price.
Yeah.
It was like, holy crap, look at this deal on these. Like, can't even imagine how many times picks of the week have been some form of a Crucial SSD, right?
Yeah,
they're always the ones that tend to have like the very competitive MSRP, and then they go on sale. Yep. It's like, holy crap. So somehow they're still making money on that. And
I think,
well, okay, let me interrupt here, because the most amazing thing to me about Micron is in the 90s, they were a small computer manufacturer in Idaho.
they're still based in Boise. Yes, I said it right, John.
Shit.
Boise. What are you sad for?
I don't know.
Sorry, am I back?
Oh yeah, there you are.
Anyway, Micron. In the early 90s, small computer manufacturer in Idaho, and they have grown to this.
There was a time when
they are the anti-OCZ.
That's true.
Yes.
They are. You're right.
Aww.
Crucial became and Crucial's brand was built on the memory configurator. Remember that? Like, you told it what PC you had, what compact or gateway machine you had.
It was for RAM.
And it would tell you what memory you could buy, what RAM you could buy to upgrade your system.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a huge database, reliably accurate. And there was a point actually early in AMD&B's existence where Crucial was the largest sponsor we had, like by a significant margin. They were just like, oh, yeah. Just put a links up to a configurator. We're good. I was like, yep, can do, right? Like all these banners running Crucial stuff. And they kind of fell off for a little bit. Now they've resurged some. So it's interesting.
I mean, they've been fairly strong on SSD since way back.
They just don't have the brand cachet that Samsung has, or even Intel has, I think, for the most part.
That's true.
I had a Crucial, I think it was a 9800 Pro. They were making AMD graphics cards at some point.
Wow, I do not remember that.
Wow.
For a short amount of time.
Yeah, they
OCZ
did.
made NVIDIA
and for
graphics cards,
like
so really?
one generation, and that was it.
Wait, really?
OCZ made GeForce cards for, I think, one gen.
Yeah.
I feel like those are two graphics cards we should have somewhere around the office, like up on a wall.
Shortly before things went to hell.
Yeah, for one of them.
Such a mishmash of stuff.
All right, let's talk about this interesting story, Jeremy. Computers can now read my poker face, you tell me? That's good, because people already were doing that.
Yeah, hold on while I attach all these probes to your cheeks.
Yeah.
And,
So what is this
It really
about?
does look like a face hugger with very bad spatial perception sort of came in from the back. But so the idea is that this thing, which is an AlterEgo, it's a project out of MIT, it senses just sub-vocalization. So just the barest movement of your tongue and translates that into speech at about a 92% accuracy rate, which is not too bad, although it's still going to be entertaining occasionally. And it makes great sense for being combined with VR, because one of the things with VR is you're very limited in your inputs because, well, you can't see a damn keyboard. So unless you're really good at touch typing and figuring out where you are on the keyboard, you're limited in the ways that you can interact with the world you're in. This text-to-speech sort of in a form factor that could be built directly into a much larger VR headset, or at least one with extra fingers on it, would probably be a really damn good thing. The other benefit of it is that you can put this on someone who's lost their ability to talk for whatever reason, and just as long as they've got some basic muscle control, this will be able to make the speech into text, or make the sub-vocalization into speech to text that's being read out. So it's got a couple of interesting uses, and it's going to be a little while before we see it, but it will be interesting to see how this extends and if we can get some sensors that don't look quite so creepy.
Speaking of creepy sensors,
I'm curious if this is better or worse than the OCZ neural impulse actuator. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Michael Schutte is so proud of you.
He is.
This was
Beaming with
literally
joy.
sitting on a shelf.
It's the easiest thing I've ever found in this office.
And
I was going to ask you to grab some cards.
so, by the
we
way,
can pretend.
when you make that hand gesture to them behind your laptop screen,
I thought I was.
No, you were doing it like right here. He was like this. And you guys could see it. But
Really?
I could see it, but I was just like, what are you dealing out,
trying to
Alec?
make it rain at some point.
Yeah, like, make it rain.
That's different. That's
So that's an
Here's
interesting.
Alan, you know.
That's
make it
interesting,
rain.
Jeremy. However, the neural impulse actuator allowed me to control a Pong game with my mind,
true.
but not really with my mind, but with micro muscle movement.
You had
is
to
what
like,
it was.
you had to like. do
Yeah, it was
your-
like raise your eyebrows. I was like, guys, that's not neural impulse actuating. That's
Oh yeah, that's neural.
what do you think
muscles
is making the
your
eyebrows
muscles
move?
well, then in that case, everything. My mouse is a neural impulse actuator
Yes.
as
Yes.
well.
Good job. You can market that.
But I bet I bet drivers haven't been updated for this in a while.
Probably
I
not.
think. Probably not. It
And
looks.
the Pong game
This
was
looks a
kinda
little
getting-
bit like a Wonder Woman tiara or something to
A
me
little
as
bit.
I wear it now.
Thinking maybe Kroll, but yeah.
Well, the NIA got Vista 64-bit drivers at some point in 2008.
Okay, so we're close.
Sweet.
We're close. All right. Thank you, Jeremy. HP announces the Chromebook X2, world's first detachable Chromebook. Ken, tell me about this Chromebook. It looks
Is there a
detachable.
song with detachable Chromebook?
Yep.
It's my
King
favorite
Whistle.
band. You probably don't know them, though.
So what am I looking at? What's special about this?
It's the world's first detachable Chromebook.
I like how that left 3 triangles on your head.
Nice.
So
Looks
I think it
broken.
was 2 weeks ago, right before the iPad announcement, we saw Acer announce the first Chrome tablet. Okay. Apparently,
Something on the web about how's the first Chrome tablet.
How's the Fuzz Crim tablet going over there?
Yeah, the Fuzz
that
Chrome tablet.
came up with the right article. But so this is kind of building upon that. It's the first detachable 2-in-1
Okay.
Chromebook. So you get kind of
Is
both
it
advantage of
seem like a
both.
pretty like a high quality device? What are the specs? Here we are.
Yeah,
Core
it-
M3.
Yeah, it looks like a premium built device. They're I think at a high price point. It's $599, I believe, for
Okay.
the 32 gig version. I think that's the only version with the Core M3, 4 gigs of RAM, and the keyboard attachment. So
Gotcha.
they're only selling it with the keyboard and stylus, which is a nice touch. But $599.
Yeah, I mean it's fairly high for a Chromebook.
Yeah.
Although
it's not
we've
the most
seen,
expensive Chromebook.
I was gonna say we've seen
Yeah.
Google's go way higher than that as well.
Yeah, that seems cheap for a Chromebook somehow, which is kind of sad.
Yeah.
Well, for a premium one, I'll agree with.
But if you combine the capability to run Android apps, which this will do, it has that capability and the sort of tablet functionality. If you're looking for a tablet, but also are looking for a Chromebook, it could be an interesting sort of crossover
Yeah,
point.
it's a tough discussion to have after Apple did their iPad education thing. You know,
Yeah.
$299, but plus a keyboard, plus a
You end up
stylus.
more than $599.
I think it's $200 extra, so it takes you to $499. I
A
think
case
for it.
and a stylus.
For the keyboard case is $100 from Logitech, and the stylus is $100.
Huh.
It takes you from $300 to $500. So you're in the range, but this is still
Yeah.
a more expensive item. But it does look interesting. It's been a while since I've looked at another Chromebook.
Yeah, I've kind of had the urge to try Chrome OS again recently. I was trying to figure out what the best Chromebook we have in the office is.
I've got several.
Yeah.
I will also say I got an email today about some new Google Gmail features and offline support coming back to
I
Gmail.
kind of want to just try Chrome OS for a week.
Yeah.
At some point. Let's see.
Why is he laughing?
I move from laptop to laptop pretty frequently, and
Yeah, it's
the
like-
vast majority of I usually only install Chrome.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, I don't do.
Everything
I do
is
more than
browser-based
that,
at this
but
point.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah. You know, education is buying these things up hugely.
Yep.
You know, Apple had kind of a big thing in there because, you know, a lot of teachers had used Mac products and they were happy with them, and they got a lot. Right now, just the price of Chrome books is overwhelming everything else.
Can be. This is not that one, but others.
Probably not.
and this is not repairable like the schools want, I would imagine, as a tablet.
Like Apple's repairable.
No, that isn't either, but like schools aren't going to buy this for students because it's
Right.
a giant pane of
Right.
glass that they can do nothing with.
Yeah.
A couple more stories. 1111. 111. We have 4 ones. Cloudflare's encrypted DNS still going strong? Question mark. Hear me?
Well, no, there's no question mark.
Oh, okay.
There was when they announced it on April 1st, because, you know, that's the perfect day to announce a new product,
That's a bad
isn't it?
idea. Yeah.
4 1s. 4-1.
Yeah.
Work
Makes
for Apple.
perfect
Yeah.
sense.
I get
Yeah,
it.
I mean,
but April Fools trumps all.
Yeah.
yeah. Even if you are for ones. And for the first week, there was a crap load of traffic through it. A lot of it was complete and utter garbage, just people trying to see if they could bring it down. And long story short, they couldn't. So if for whatever reason you don't like Google's DNS, or for many good reasons you don't like your ISP's DNS, this is a new one to give it a shot. It is free, and it fully supports both DNS over TLS and DNS crypt. So if you want to go through the nightmare of setting up encryption on your DNS, you can do it, and it's fully compatible.
It does sound like a nightmare.
It's not fun to do. It can be done, and a lot of people have done it, and some of them don't simply offer it to you. So it's nice. And besides, if you're not so much into the 8s, go for the 1s.
Interesting. And last but certainly not least, Corsair has made some memory that is not RGB. It's not bright red, green, or blue. That's what RGB stands for. It is instead a nice, classy finish. This
White.
is Dominator Platinum Special Edition. Individually numbered kits feature monochrome white and black design with white LEDs. The modules come in 32 gig kits comprised of either 4 8s or 2 16s. The fancy black and pearlescent white special edition memory features 10-layer PCBs, carefully screened Samsung IC, and dual heat exchange cooling. Top of the modules hold white LEDs, no RGB, and add a bit of glow to your
pearl
system.
white, meaning you really have to see it in person, and you can't go by any photo of it, pretty much.
Is that what that implies to you?
Like, pearl white is extremely hard to photograph.
Yeah, but if you need a white RAM module,
Sebastian could
it's
do it.
about your only choice.
yeah,
Now,
without customizing
now the
it.
problem with anything that says special edition, individually numbered, usually means what?
It's
Expensive.
expensive,
More
along
expensive.
with anything that says DDR4.
Anything that says memory,
it
yes.
says RAM on it.
So the 2x16 gig kit is $439 MSRP.
Good Lord.
The 4x8 kit is $479.
Okay, that seems high.
But I mean, you match it with that MSI board, and you put it in
does look
that
pretty good.
Corsair 275R that Sebastian just reviewed, and you've got a nice metallic white system.
You can look at your money flying
Stem to
away.
stern.
Yeah, it's just,
It does have
You
an
still won't have
XM2
GPU to put it in.
XMP 2.0 profile that goes up to 3466. So there is that. It is fast memory, at
it
least.
better be.
But it is
You want.
it is expensive. But I just no, that's not very good. I do like
So you buy the cheaper stuff, and you get some white paint.
darn this
Just-
low
yep.
quality picture. Yeah, I guess
Either too big or too small, right?
Just saying.
whatever.
Take an afternoon.
You'll know if they're not individually numbered. You'll know.
I can individually
You
number my
care.
RAM
You-
modules.
You'll
You
know.
need to send those to Sebastian to photograph.
I didn't get any.
True.
They didn't send me any. I
Oh,
know.
Because they're limited edition.
still needs to photograph them.
Oh well. All right, let's get to our hardware software. Oh, I forgot it. It's sitting over there on the desk. Will you get that for me? My hardware pick of the week is a ruler.
One PCB to rule them all.
No, you can't.
What? I can't what?
So this was a something that NVIDIA gave out to some of the media analyst groups at NVIDIA GTC this year. This is something that's been around for a while. You've probably seen pictures of it. Anybody who goes to visit the new NVIDIA campus can go to the gift shop and buy these if they're available. They're how much? $3.50?
$3.50.
About $3.50. So this is basically it is a just over. Let's see. It's 30. Oh wait, hold on. It's a 1 foot ruler, 30.5 centimeters. But the important thing about this ruler is it has all of the. You can show these pictures here. It'll be a little bit better descriptor here. It has a bunch of just like cool engineering, stats versus metrics and stuff. If you want to see what the pin layout of a GTX 1080 GPU is, that's this guy right here, or a GTX 1050, Tegra X1, Tegra K1.
It has more practical layout stuff for
It
like.
does too. But like, hey, look, here's DDR3, DDR4, GDDR5, LPDDR4. It's got trace pitches.
Yeah.
Down here, you've got tables that show your trace width, your impedance, and your what is milliohms per centimeter? Is that what I'm looking at?
It's the resistance of the trace.
Resistance.
Yeah, it's okay. It's an ohm. There you go. It gives you all the formulas, like in case you forget that V equals IR, P equals I squared R, P equals VI. It's just a really cool
Wonder where the QR code leads.
trinket. I bet it goes to NVIDIA.com. It says NVIDIA.com under it, but maybe not. And then on the front side, you've got
Like all your standard capacitors.
polarized
and
capacitors, inductors, all this pretty cool
all
stuff.
the surface mount.
Which even if
component
you're not
sizes.
a surface mount engineer, is still pretty neat to. I don't want to explore rulers on Pinterest. Oh my god.
What makes it cool is if you had a surface mount component, like you got your hands on a surface mount resistor, or and
Yeah,
you want to
you
know
wanna-
what size is that. Like you have no idea if you were trying to find a replacement, right?
I mean, clearly this isn't going to have everything on it.
No, but it's got a lot. It's got a lot of the common ones.
What are the holes on the top for?
Wire gauge.
Oh,
Yeah.
there they are. Okay. It has the labels on the other side, right? Wire gauges 8, 10, 12, 14, 18. We could see, Josh, if we had that power supply open, we could see.
Yeah.
It only goes down to 8, but
Mm-hmm.
It was probably 8.
here's your
Thick.
tooling sizes.
By Josh Tech.
Made in USA. We looked, you can buy these on eBay. They're selling for like anywhere from $25 to $35, I think.
There are also plenty of other people that have made PCB rulers like this, like
That
Digital
are
PC
NVIDIA
and their
branded,
generic
yes,
ones.
correct,
So
correct. Now you won't have GTX 1080 pinouts on
It's
them.
Can they fit a Titan on there?
What does it taste like?
Notice there's no 1080 Ti on here. The ruler is not wide enough for that. What does it taste like? It probably tastes like
Does
copper.
it taste like copper?
Yeah. Smells like, doesn't smell like pennies. Oh well. So that was pretty cool. So what do they even call this? What's it actually called? It's the NVIDIA ruler. Okay, there you go. Yeah, apparently it's a very hot commodity at the NVIDIA offices. So you can pick one up on eBay if nothing else. Who's up next? MKV Tool.
Yeah, so I had some NKVs that had like default language being like Polish or something. The language.
As
Are you
do.
talking NKV, the Soviet secret
No.
police?
No, the media transport.
Video files. So, so if you have some a video that you might have acquired any random place on the internet that happens to have
Big
like
Buck Bunny.
that happens to have like either subtitles that are default in a different language that you don't want to pop up every time and have to like change back to English, or a language that's not English and you want to change it back to English every single time.
Mm-hmm.
You can just re-transcode. Well, it's not a transcode. Remember a virtual dub with its direct stream copy thing?
I don't just remember it. I know it.
Oh
vividly.
yeah. Like you could take that and you can modify which audio tracks were in an old like an AVI or something, right? And you can then just do a straight copy where it didn't re-encode, you didn't lose quality.
Right.
It just kind of recreated the file just without the streams you didn't want. Right. This is the same thing for MKVs. You can just choose. There's just checkboxes. You open a file, you drag into it, and it just shows you everything that's present, all the streams, everything else. If there's a DTS stream that was taking a bunch of space and you just wanted the regular 2-channel audio, just uncheck the DTS stream and export the file, and then you just end up with a file with the stuff stripped out that you didn't want in the original.
All right.
Simple as
So this is the kind of tool that I would never use because it has downloads for CentOS, Debian, Fedora,
But it has
FreeBSD,
Windows.
Mac, Windows,
What's
Ubuntu,
Zenwalk?
Slack,
It has Windows.
Open Indiana.
others. Let's see what's others.
I don't even know. what that-
Chocolatey? No, wait.
That's the Windows Package Manager.
Oh, others.
not the
Unfortunately, I do not have
official.
access to other distributions and cannot provide binaries. No, never mind.
Yeah.
Okay.
But they do have a Windows build. That's what led me to them because I just wanted to do it on Windows and not.
MKV Tool Nix.
There's a bunch of
NIX.
different. There's a bunch of different MKV tools. Like there's like one for building MKVs and one for just like picking them apart and like taking all the streams out, like extracting everything. But this one is just a, front to back MKV in, MKV out,
Right.
sort of thing where you just, it's as simple as you could possibly make, that desire.
Yeah.
Right. I just don't want Russian language in this movie coming up every time I play it. Just get rid of it.
Okay.
Here, if you buy the movie from iTunes, it doesn't do that.
That's true.
Maybe. I've heard that somewhere. Let's see. Who's next? It's Humble. It's got to be Jeremy.
That's Jeremy.
Yep.
There you
None
go.
better. But this is actually a pretty damn good bundle because I own almost all of these games already. So obviously they've got good taste. And besides, you're supporting PCPer. But it's got the entire Endless series. Dungeon of the Endless, Endless Space, Endless Legend, and Endless Space 2. If you put in enough. It's also got the Whale and Dolphin Conservatory Pack for Company and Heroes 2. Sorry, no chicken and cow.
What
are all these words you're using, Jeremy?
Whale and dolphin.
Whale and dolphin. Got it.
As opposed to cow and chicken.
So these are all
Moose and squirrel?
These are all just RTSs? What are they? Like,
See.
I guess.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're all, well, some of them are RTSs, some of them are turn-based with great multiplayer support if you got a couple of friends who also like it. The Total War Empire is obviously just sort of a Total War thing. And Tooth and Tail is an odd one that I haven't played, but essentially you're a mouse in a rat's world and could be relatively interesting. And super cheap, and you support a charity and PCPer, so give it a shot.
Yay.
Yay, indeed.
Yay.
Good job. All right. I guess that leaves Josh. I've got to go back to the show notes because he didn't have his in time.
Yeah, I did.
Walworth.
All right. What do you got?
Oppo Gungan style.
How about a 4K UHD player instead?
How about it? You know, if you want one of the best on the market, and this is strange because the company is going out of business.
Are they really?
Oppo.
Wait, really?
Yes. Yes, they announced that they are not making anything anymore.
I very distinctly remember back when I considered myself a videophile who cared about stuff like researching which specific DVD player I wanted to buy that had the best image quality. And I had an Oppo. I don't know what the model number was, but yeah, it's disappointing.
It's still around here
this
somewhere.
one is the lower priced one. I think it's a little over 500.
Yep, $549.
Yeah, $549. The other one is a lot higher.
Can I ask you a question?
You know, if you want a really, really good 4K Blu-ray player, because they're going out of business. They're
Don't
not.
these things need like firmware updates over time or new like keys and stuff?
They're going to support them for many years, but they're just going to sell out what they've got
anymore.
The Oppo video and audio business is going out of business because they're still the 5th smartphone manufacturer in the world.
Oh,
got it.
Which is weird.
Yeah,
that's a whole other thing.
Yeah,
which means at some point in the future they'll just come out of the blue and release some whatever next video format player
firmware
10 years from now or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I think for a lot of people who care about what it looks like and how they interface with it, this is a good choice. I mean, I would still tell people to buy an Xbox One S. Right, that's what, $399?
Way cheaper than that.
$299?
You can get it for like $200.
An Xbox One S?
Yeah.
And you get a game console.
I saw in Walmart you can get a 4K for $129.
Yeah.
May not be great.
Yeah.
But still, you know this one is built really nicely.
Indeed. All right. So that's going to be it for the show tonight, guys. Thank you for joining us. PCPer.com/podcast. That's a URL you go to find our show notes, links to all the stories we talked about, links to the pics we talked about, RSS feeds, MP3 files, video links, all that stuff is all going to be included right there for you. Links to the butcherbox.com/PCPer if you need it. Use code PCPer.
Because you got a meat in a box.
Yeah. Do that too. You could meet other people in the box. I know what you meant, Josh. It's fine. So that's going to be it for us for tonight, guys. See you next week. Bye. Thanks to ButcherBox.com for supporting PC Perspective. Receive free bacon and $20 off your first box when you go to ButcherBox.com/PCPer and use the offer code PCPer.